Hello, everybody.
Oh,
We're
hey.
live.
Oh, hey,
We're
man.
back. We're here. Hi, Neil. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you? What state are you in? What country are you in right now?
I am in Grand Rapids. Just got here around 10 minutes ago.
Pure Michigan,
And
I'm
pure
told.
Michigan. And it is snowing. It's snowing pretty hard.
Yeah,
So
Michigan. I also am told those things.
what did you say?
I said I'm told that it snows in Michigan. It's a thing
It
that,
does snow in Michigan.
yeah.
And I'm going to break the fourth wall here for a second and ask you to turn up the gain on your mic a little bit because it just got really quiet randomly.
Oh, wow. Okay. How about now? Can you hear me now?
That didn't really change anything.
Oh,
Uh,
no kidding.
oh! Now you're loud again.
Oh, wow. This is going to be fun.
Oh, now turn the gain back down.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what happened. All right, so we're here today. Hello, everybody. Just got to Grand Rapids right ahead of when it would be really hairy. We were going to have a call-in from a very special guest today, but he is currently driving through the snowstorm. So we will have him on another time, and it will be a mystery to who we are talking about. And you will just have to tune in every episode until he makes it. But we're here to talk about last night in Toronto, night 2 of 2 in my hometown. Very excited to have seen 2 shows. I don't know if anyone's heard me say that yet over the past months or especially the last couple of days. But it was amazing. And last time was a lot of fun. Last night, was a lot of fun. I think definitely from an outside perspective, I think the Toronto shows are pretty clearly not up to the standards of the Milwaukee shows. But I think for what they needed to be, which was captivating a completely new market and people who had mostly never seen Goose before, they were perfect because everybody left last night ready to go on tour. There were so many people, like even you can tell that the audience hadn't seen a lot of Goose because during Butter Rum, like there weren't a lot of people doing the call and response with the band that obviously at most shows, everyone's doing it. So I think top level thoughts, just these were perfect. It hooked so many new fans these 2 nights. And so I think that's really exciting. Neil, what about you? What are your, first thoughts on last night's show from an outside perspective? Now you have no sound. Yeah, you have no sound. This is what happens when you arrive late, guys. Neil, was behind schedule today. Yeah. Anyway, we can dive right into the show, maybe, and come back to Neil's thoughts once he gets in. But let's start off the show. First 3 songs here: Butter Rum, I Would Die for You, and Bob Dawn. Really great first 3 songs for a first set. Kind of not playing 3 openers is a treat here. Rum getting us a little jammy right out the gate. Disco vibes. We had a lot of those last night, and obviously that comes in through I Would Die for You. But this Rum is awesome. Love what Peter's doing on Vintage Vibe and just kind of the groove they all get into as a full band. I think that's something they've been doing really, really well lately, and Butter Rum just doesn't disappoint these days. The song's still not my favorite, but now you know that there's a great jam to look forward to. I Would Die for You, obviously, always excellent early placement for this one, which I liked a lot. Bob Dawn, also super early placement, really slow, really rockin' version, and a nice whiff there. Neil, are we back?
I think I'm back. Do I have audio
you're
right
back,
now?
and you sound
Okay.
normal.
This is frustrating. Yeah. Well, that's why I was late today. I was having technical difficulties. I have like a loose USB cable. I don't know. It's annoying. But
Loose cable.
so we'll start with my thoughts beginning to end because I think you've gotten us halfway through the first set here. Thank you for starting off the show by reading us off the Storm Sound blog post from this morning, offering your thoughts on Canada as a major market for Goose to break into. Toronto. Yes, Toronto. Yes, agree. We need to get that international audience going. So this is exciting stuff. I'm actually shocked they haven't played in Canada before. Like you would think they would just kind of make their way up there. I mean,
you would think
plenty of other bands do.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, you would also think they would bring out the jams for Toronto, but they didn't do that either. So we should really get into that.
Hey, we got some.
You got some jams.
But
You
anyway.
did get some jams, but you didn't get the jams that we were getting for 3 straight days in Milwaukee. Boy, did they bring it for Milwaukee. I think they took a look at the Milwaukee fans. They took a look at the Toronto fans, and they said, "All right, we got to bring it for the folks from Milwaukee." Forget that guy up in Canada. I think that was the plan going in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you were talking about butter rum. Butter rum doesn't disappoint now, and this one is like spooky and mysterious, and all of the things I love in jams, just right in the middle of a butter rum, and
the opener.
Yeah, and it's the opener. I mean, this is actually great. I love this placement. These are the kind of openers that I want. I want butter rum. I would die for you, not turbulence, Mr. Action.
Yeah,
I think this 100%. Is a better pair. So
I think that's pretty indisputable.
Yeah, I mean, they just need to fold more of these great covers into the first set. They did it with No California and Milwaukee. I think here you're seeing it again. Another great cover in I Would Die For You. They have plenty of these awesome covers in their back pocket. This is where they should put them. They don't need to be a second set barn burner or anything like that. They can be right here, and it makes the first set sick.
Yes.
And I love the flow of this whole thing. Butter Rum, I Would Die For You, Bob Don. That's awesome.
Like Bob Don is your cool down here. Like that's sick.
Can we talk about Bob Don for a second?
Yeah.
Can we talk about the drum beat in Bob Don? Because I was having this conversation with Garrett pointed front of the pod. Garrett pointed this out to me, and he's like, "There's a swing to it that isn't normally there." And I was like, "Yeah," and it's like really sleepy and slow, so it's weird. It kind of has like a little get up from the swing, but it was like slower than normal. So this is a really unusual Bob Don, and I was expecting it to go away in the width, and then we'd have kind of the traditional drum beat in the width. And Cotter stayed with it the whole way through. It was very, very different. It's a shame we didn't have our super secret special guest on here, because I was curious what his point of view was on that particular thing. But we'll have to ask him some other time.
We will.
Yeah.
He does have a uniquely suited point of view to talk about that specific thing.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to ask that, because it's just
well, we'll have to have our super secret special guest on at some point.
Some other super secret time. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, anyway, next up, everybody's favorite, Seekers. Kind of the cool down after the cool down that we didn't really need. But hey, it's in the first set, not the second set.
Yeah.
And people loved it. Again, that's important.
I love that they saved this one for Canada. I mean, the first show in Canada, Seekers.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Man. Just for you, man.
Second show in Canada, but
well, you know what I mean.
It wasn't just for me. If it was just for me, it would have been in the second set.
Yeah. True.
But anyway, after that, our first repeat of the tour in Rockdale, followed by a nice little jam in Echo and Wild Night to close out the set. I like this Echo a lot, and I was a little bit disappointed when they went into Wild Night because I thought that jam was getting somewhere really interesting. It was funny seeing the written set list. They were planning on doing Animal there. So I think we were getting a ripcord out of Echo regardless. So, but that 13 minutes of Echo, really great momentum behind it. They kind of hit a space that reminded me of that first jam section of the Seattle Echo, where it's kind of just a very flowy bliss jam that they're all, locking in on. And I thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean, this Rockdale, don't skip over this Rockdale, man. Did you go to the bathroom in Rockdale?
I did not go to the bathroom.
You can tell us the truth. No? I thought it was really nice.
I went to pee during Seekers 1. I didn't have to pee again 10 minutes later.
True. In any case, I thought the Rockdale was quite nice for being 13-ish minutes.
Yeah.
You get some really, frog burping clav in there, which I thought was excellent. And it always is. It's always cool. And then you get a little Heartbreaker-esque jam, which we've heard in Rockdales before.
Yes.
Esque. Yes, esque. It's French for it kind of sounds like.
Yeah, I did. I stopped by to say hi to Dylan during Seekers.
People know where to find you during Seekers 1.
Actually, Naveed was not at the merch table during Seekers, and we usually say hi to each other and
you kind of link up. Maybe he was also in the bathroom during Seekers 1.
Honestly,
highly likely.
Reasonable. Yeah.
So this Rockdale was good. I thought the Echo was good. Like you, I was like, could have used some more minutes on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I'd really like it if Goose reminded people how awesome of a song Echo can be.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been a while since they've really kind of
Charlotte
punched everybody in the mouth with an Echo, And yeah, Charlotte, I guess that's right. So it would be nice if they came back to that one and kind of really gave us a good jam. But this one was nice, and then you're gonna get a weird smooth, not smooth segue into Wild Night.
I thought it was
Which
smooth.
I don't know. It kind of sounds smooth, but kind of feels forced at the same time for me. I don't know. Maybe that's just me when I heard it.
Sure.
And then yeah, Wild Night to close out the set. It's just such a weird pick. It's obvious though when you look at the show that they are bringing out some of the cooler stuff for this one. This one was, we can complain about the lack of jams. There are some jams in the show, but
yeah, on paper
they were dropping
it's interesting.
Ultra rarities in this one. So that's some cool stuff. Wild Night hasn't been played that many times. What is it, like 5 or 6 maybe? Maybe more in the olden days, but like since
18 times.
Since 9/17/20, how many times though?
4.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the point I'm trying to make. I don't know about the wicked old stats.
What's the deal with 9/17/20? Is that a good show?
They played Wild Night on that night, and then they also played an incredibly sick show that everybody should go back and listen to if they want to hear how awesome Goose was in 2020, including a spectacular Rosewood, still the best they've ever played. In case you're wondering, all happened. Weird thing though is Wild Night was a head scratcher of a cover in that show too. So I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. I've never really particularly loved this song. This was like when I was a kid. This was like on MTV. It was John Cougar Mellencamp and Michelle Ndegeocello doing like a duet of this song.
Interesting.
And I hated it, man. I did not like it back then. Not a John Cougar fan. I'm not.
That's fine.
But in any case, it's a rarity since 2020.
So it's funny looking at the differences between the first half of this set and the second half of this set, just in terms of like because they come out of the gate. We talked about those first 3 songs. It's like, whoa, like that's awesome, that's different, and then they kind of settle into more of like a standard Goose vibe for the second half. But then the second set is also not standard for
it's all over the place.
A lot of reasons, yeah. Like again, looking at this show on paper, it's like, what's happening here? Kind of in a cool way. I like specific placements that we will talk about in a second. But yeah, overall though, again, I'm talking to people at Set Break, and people were like, "Oh my god, that was the best set of the week so far."
Really?
Yeah. Like people, again, I cannot overstate how incredibly excited people were about these shows and how much people loved these shows. It was
shows. You mean when you're saying these, you're referring to Canadian
Toronto.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm saying that like people were so excited for these shows, and we talked about it on the pod yesterday with my dad and I, and I keep saying it, and I've said it in my reviews because it's just that was like the vibe for both nights. It was so many people from Toronto who had been wanting to check out Goose. Like I was just talking to someone earlier today who said they met people who drove from like Northern Ontario, like 4.5 hours. And I don't know if anyone here has ever been to Northern Ontario, 4.5 hours north of Toronto, but there's literally nothing up there. Like people up there are getting into Goose and are excited to come down to Toronto to see them for the first time, and then are loving it. So
I imagine this is not dissimilar to friend of the pod, Ryan Legbold, coming from the deep, dark backwoods of Fargo, North Dakota. Okay, yeah,
exactly.
Okay,
exactly. I just want to make that very clear that like everybody was so happy about everything that happened at both shows.
I mean, these aren't bad shows. I'm not hating on these shows. I just like, we feasted in Milwaukee, and then these shows in comparison are like, they're not as good as Milwaukee.
No, like if they played these shows in like fall 2024, like they'd be good shows.
If they played these shows in Boston, I would have been elated.
Well, these are both way better than Boston.
That's the point I'm trying to make here. But
hey, so if we learn
before we move on from the first set, though, one thing
I
do want to say, when they finished off with Wild Night, that was about 80 minutes of music, I want to say.
Yeah.
And it felt like they had one more show, or one more song, rather,
they could have
to
done
play.
Animal.
Did it not? But like you've seen the paper set list. I haven't actually
Echo
studied
Animal was the plan.
Okay. So it's just, but like, it just felt like there was one more. Should have been something else on the end of that.
Yeah.
But I guess if the plan was Animal, you could have gotten a longer Animal, and then they were out. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make that point.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So set 2 here. We come out of the gate with a pretty sizable Arcadia, and I was very, very excited when they brought that out for the opener. You know, I kind of figured that was coming last night. Neil, did you have it on your picks for last night?
Have one of my picks from last night.
Arcadia.
I did not, because
Nope.
it was not a repeat that I was expecting. I didn't pick any repeats because I was looking at the things that were on the table to be played, and it all seemed like incredibly possible, all the things I thought they were going to play. And of course, it happened for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't pick Arcadia last night, and they scored really high in Fantasy Goose. True. Because folks were expecting Seekers 1 and 2. That's like a freebie right there. You get an extra. Folks were expecting Butter Rum. That's a freebie right there.
Yeah, I didn't pick Rum.
Yeah, and like some folks were smart enough to pick Hot Tea really high. I think you did.
Yeah.
So like,
did you not?
When I looked at all of those, and then I looked at Jive Lee, which they've been kind of hinting at playing. It showed up on a couple set lists so far, or at least one. And so I looked at all that, and I said, well, you know, I'm not going to gamble with repeats. Who knows what they're going to do? Although if I was to gamble on one, I would have chosen Rockdale long before I chose Arcadia, because they love playing Rockdale on short rest. I mean, it is, you know, it's like clockwork with that one. And when they played it in the first set, I was like, oh, of course they're playing this tonight. But no, I didn't pick that Arcadia. Did you? You picked the Arcadia?
7 points.
Yeah. Pat yourself on the back. Good for you.
Thank you. Wow, look, are you complimenting my fantasy?
No, I'm not at all. I'm just saying you're just taking this opportunity to pat yourself on the back. Good for you.
Yeah, my 8-point Christmas card was really what did it for me yesterday.
Yeah. Right.
I did not. My 8-pointer was T. You can go look on the site. Anyway, Arcadia. This is an absolutely excellent Arcadia.
It is.
Oh my God. I love this jam. Everybody was going nuts during it. Okay.
I have lots of thoughts. Do you want no, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just like agreeing with you and saying I have lots of things to say about it. But I'll start off if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So first listen to this one last night, I was like, oh, that's like, you know, a pretty neat kind of not straying too far from Arcadia kind of jam, which is true. But also this is kind of an excellent jam for being in the lane of Arcadia almost the whole entire way. The things that they do with the structure of Arcadia in the song are so freaking cool. I like, yeah, I don't know. So you have the first section, which is super familiar, the Nebula section that they definitely played. Well, the Nebula TED tapes from the TED tapes second one, whatever we call the second release,
2024.
2024. You know, that's an Arcadia jam, right? That jam shows up in the Cap Arcadia. Really like that one. And then shows up again here. So you get that section, slow funk, cool stuff on guitar. Absolutely love that stuff. Then phase 2 is an extended version of the outro played slowly and creatively by just about everybody in the band. It's a different take on the outro. The guitar solo the whole way through is Rick just toying with the outro notes. And that's it. And to me, that is that. I don't. It's type 1. I don't know. Type 1.
I would give this a 1.5.
1.5. I don't know what that means. But in any case, if we must assign numbers, those are the numbers I would assign to this. In that it is staying in the structure of the song, but they so creatively approach it. It sounds like something completely different, and so that lands this decently high for me. When I went to bed last night, I was like, I don't know. It was cool, but like maybe not so cool. And then I listened to it again today, and I was like, okay. This is pretty cool, and I'm actually going to go back and listen to this one a couple of times. I think it still sits near the bottom of my list, but an incredibly creative approach. If you listen to there's a recent interview with Cotter Ellis on Cam's podcast, and Cotter talks about his comfort with the catalog, and as he's learning this stuff, he can do things not just in improv, but within the song itself that's like a little bit different and can give it a little bit different of a feel. And I think that is on display right here in this jam, which is an incredible coincidence seeing how that interview just came out.
Yeah.
So different approaches within the structure of the song. That's what you're hearing here. Super creative stuff, not like the full on type 2 improv that, you know, we fiend over on this podcast.
But really, just high energy, very psychedelic. I don't have a ton to add here. I do want to talk about Peter doing the sirens. And kind of like how that elevates as it's ramping up. to that first peak, before they take it down and do the outro. It's so cool. And the Moog Muse, that he's kind of using, he's doubling it with the clav as well for a while, that like kind of very floaty tone reminded me as a very similar patch to what he uses in the Fairfax Arcadia from Taboo's tour. Just that similar kind of like very floaty thing, different jam, obviously, but sonically, it sounded similar to me. But yeah, I love this. I was decently sweaty by the end of this jam from jumping around a lot, because that's what you do when they play an Arcadia like this.
Yeah.
And then from there, and then from there we get Feel It Now. First one without Jeff. So we get hi-hat instead of bongos. I like the bongos, and I miss the bongos.
I'm told they're all bongos, but yes, the hi-hat is not a suitable replacement.
Yeah. But I mean, again, this was great. Another song that people really liked. Keeping those disco vibes going. There was a lot of that last night. And then we get the Rosewood. I think we've been waiting a very long time for a properly jammed Rosewood. I think this one's like just short of 19 minutes. I would call this properly jammed. First one in a long time. And this is also notably the longest gap between Rosewoods in the song's history. 21 shows, last played in Miami in October. So crazy stat there. But this Rosewood is great. Right out the gate, they don't, they spend a few seconds in that like normal, very beautiful Rosewood space. And instead of, building in that and then moving into something after, they go right into this very like kind of a funkier take on it. And that's largely thanks to Cotter and Peter, and what they drive forth there. But then we get, a nice patient peak there. And then it kind of fades out. And, there you're kind of like, what kind of mood is the band in? Does Rick want to play more songs like we saw end of the second set on Monday night? Or are we going to get another jam? And then we get some Evil Goose, which was excellent. Big treat. And yeah, this was another song that people were raving about on the way out. But very happy to see Rosewood here, be the highlight jam of a second set. And hopefully it's not another 21 shows before we see this song again.
I know, that's wild. Why do they do that to this song? It's so good. It's such a good song.
They know, because they know they'll never be able to live up to Hosewood.
Well, that's true. They've been trying for 5 years and failing. Like, I'm sure it just gets frustrating, and then they just have to like stop and say, like, guys, I give up. It's gonna have to take a whole quarter of a year off before we play it again. But I don't know. Some people think they've played better versions more recently, but those people I think are objectively incorrect. Yeah, this Rosewood is quite good. It does a couple different things, at least to my ear. It kind of has a section that sounds like the Brosewood.
The Brosewood.
Dawson and Fame, which I love the Brosewood. It's excellent stuff. And so there's a section that definitely sounds like that. And then after that, there is I don't know what the word is. We can call it darkness. We can call it Evil Goose. It's angular and strange, and it's a creative approach to the song. It's not as dark and evil as some of the other stuff they've played in the last week or so. But I love that they keep coming back to these themes and exploring them because they're cool and different. And it doesn't all have to be a disco jam. Doesn't all have to be a bliss jam. Doesn't all have to be a funk jam. You can do this kind of stuff too. And this is the 2025 stuff. It's the Hallmark jamming style of 2025 right now.
So far, yeah.
Is them kind of circling back to these, these less vibey themes, these themes that will scare you, and maybe they're difficult to dance to even. They're still really cool.
It was easy to dance to this.
Was it easy to dance to it?
Okay. Oh, I was dancing.
Right. So sick version. And then, so how far did we go here? Did you go all the way through?
No. I just said Rosewood.
Okay.
But then the hot tea Christmas card was interesting.
The end of that hot tea was really good.
Well, it was really good, but like I would have liked for them to explore where they were going in that jam rather than go into Christmas card there. I think I understand they very much wanted to do the Tea Prize thing, which is officially footnoted now. The Tea Prize thing, they specifically split it between the second set and encore, and so we know their thing with the sandwiches these days. But yeah, I don't know. It started to go in a really, really cool direction in that hot tea. And so I mean, listen, Hot Tea is not a song that we talk about in a positive light very often on this podcast. But again, this was a crowd favorite. I don't go back and listen to pre-Jeff Hot Teas very often, but I really missed the gong last night in this song. It's become such an integral part of the sound here. But yeah, Christmas Card. What a treat to get in Toronto. Rarely played cover there. Obviously, last played at SPAC in September. But man,
last time before that was way back 2020. Yeah, I was at that show. Schweezer. I was. So I had seen all of the the ones they've played since 2020 until now. So sad face that I missed this one, but it is a killer cover. It's weird. It's a weird one in the second set. It would be not a killer cover if they played it all the time, but when it's a treat, it's cool. Yeah. I don't know.
Rick does
the story's heartbreaking. It's just like a weird vibe. And like in a second set, you go from like Hot Tea, like dance party, having the time of my life. And then it's like, boom, depressing.
Charlie, I'm pregnant.
It's that is a weird vibe shift. But that is what happens here. This tea was good. I don't know. I like tea in a show. It's always fun. I think those of us who've been listening for a really long time are scarred from 2019 teas, where you get like 20 minutes of just like the same jam the whole entire time.
That's 2022, 2023.
Oh, yeah, also those years. But yeah, I mean, I guess you get 16 to 19 minutes in 2019.
Yeah.
So in any case, yeah, cool stuff. Christmas Card, nice one to hear out of nowhere. Just another rarity pulled out of nowhere. Weird ones just coming out.
Yes. And then speaking of things that you don't expect to be played on a Tuesday night in Toronto, Factory Fiction. Obviously very short gap here, having been played last just on New Year's, which actually I looked at the stats, and New Year's was the first Factory Fiction I wasn't in attendance for since Syracuse to Goose. I saw like 10 straight Factory Fictions.
You've missed very few shows since then, but yeah.
Yes, but it was just that was a funny stat that I saw like 10 in a row. But man, this was great last night. Obviously you don't get the same reaction out of a crowd who doesn't know it as well, but it was a treat, and people responded well to it because it's an amazing song.
Do you think there were that many people there last night that had never seen Goose before?
100%.
So capacity is like what, 2,500?
2,500. Yep.
Right on. And so not many people made the trek across the border.
Correct. I would say the majority of the people at both of these shows had not seen Goose before, or had only seen them once or twice. I was talking, we talked about this yesterday. People from Toronto only had really a couple of opportunities to see them within a few hours in the last couple of years. You had CMAC last year and you had Art Park in 2022. And other than that, there hasn't been anything like there's been Cleveland, there's been Detroit, but that's all like 4 or 5 hours. And people are more willing to do like a 2 or 3 hour drive. Yeah. So there we go.
2,500 cap though. Yeah.
See, Dylan, I've never heard less of a reaction to the All the Freaks Want to Come at Night line, and I've seen several Factory Fictions.
So
it's cool.
That also could be that the thrill of Factory Fiction has waned significantly since 2021, right? When they played it in 2021, it was just like, oh my god, they're playing Factory Fiction. Yeah. And they do this with songs.
But I will say the Cincy one, which, third one of the fall and fifth one of 2024, still got a massive reaction from that line. So I don't think it's Factory Fiction fatigue that's resulting in that. Nice alliteration.
Fair. Okay. Factory Fiction fatigue.
Triple F.
Yeah.
And then encore.
Oh, can I say actually before we go to the encore? Like the jam that comes in the back end of this is actually pretty good, and it doesn't get developed. And this might be my favorite section of Factory Fiction jamming since SPAC 2023. Yeah. Okay, fair. Red Rocks. Forgot about Red Rocks.
Yeah, but no, I mean I agree. This definitely went to a more interesting place than I was expecting, giving the placement.
Okay.
A little dark, a little synthy, as we like. And then Shama Tea Prize for the encore. That
was remarkable. Why did they have to do it? I'm not complaining, by the way.
No,
it's unusual and weird.
If I had to change something here, I dropped Tea from the second set, You just go Arcadia, Feel It Now, Rosewood, Factory, or Christmas Card, Factory Fiction, and then just encore that shit.
Encore.
Hot tea. Encore that shit. You know, the
whole way through. Okay.
The OG, the OG song
Encore
that we would
that
say
shit, hot tea.
encore that shit a bit.
Yeah. Maybe Goose was sending a message, which is if you're willing to cross the border to see us, we will give you some kind of items to check off the list, as it were. Maybe that's it. And the Shama Encore, believe it or not, I'd say the majority of Goose fans are stoked on that Shama Encore. You and Jive Goose not stoked on the Shama Encore, but I don't necessarily hate it. I think this is like a solid choice.
I don't hate it.
I love
Jive
it.
Goose is much more critical about this than I am, just for the record.
Yeah. He can only be entertained in specific ways of his choosing, and if they are those, then he just hates it. Like,
yeah, they are playing Shama a lot lately, though. The last three gaps, so a 10 gap, a 7 gap, and a 9 gap, and that is the longest, or the shortest, I should say, between versions of Shama in almost 5 years. So.
How about that?
Food for thought, you know?
Yeah.
I think that the biggest knock I have against Shama being played a lot is that there are other covers that they're not playing as much that are arguably much better.
Is that true, though? I mean, like, how many minutes of Shama do you get when they play it? It's not very long.
That's not the point, because it's a cover slot in...
Yeah, but I mean, you could have the same beef with, like, Don't Do It, right? They play that all the time, and you're like, well, they could play something else, but I don't know. They were going for the rarity kind of slot, and people really want that Shama. In case you didn't know, friend of the pod, Paige Caruso, really likes the song.
What?
I don't know.
She does.
It's a well-kept secret in the Goose community.
I know, crazy.
And she really wanted that one. She was very vocal about wanting that one, and Goose, finally gave it to her in Boston.
Yeah. Well,
so it's on their mind. They want to give that to people.
Well, that brings us to the close of this show. Last night in Toronto, we wrap up relatively quick pod today. I want to go hit Whole Foods before it becomes not possible to move around properly outside, which does not seem that far away based on the weather. If you're traveling to Grand Rapids, first of all, good luck. Second of all, please stay safe. I think it's going to get dicey into tonight. Hopefully, hopefully the band got here okay. I know that they were flying this afternoon, but hopefully everybody flying and driving up tomorrow is able to get here safely. So we've got 3 nights to close out this winter run, and I am very, very excited for what's in store. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, man, these shows are gonna be good. Goose is a Midwest band. They are not a Toronto band.
Well,
they are a Midwest band.
So before we go, I mean, I've said that Detroit is the Shohio of Michigan, but maybe they're about to prove us wrong. Maybe Grand Rapids is the Shohio of Michigan. And on that note, yes, thank you, VT to boot, for reminding me. Our good friends at HF Pod, 25 minutes from now at 4:30 Eastern, we'll be doing a draft of every Fish studio release. It's going to be great. And you should go watch it because HF Pod is awesome and we love them very much.
We do love the drafts, just if only to watch Megan dominate Brian and RJ, because that is just the most amusing part of it. The frustration on their faces is so good.
Well, Brian's going to go for his contrarian pick and then be like, well, I lost because I took this deep cut.
Yeah. I mean, his is like, like, how do I want to describe this? It's just like, the hipster version of choices. Not like he's not winning any popularity contests.
Yes.
But he is I don't know. He's going for the the Joy Division.
I would say the Brian Brinkman pick.
Yeah, the Brian Brinkman.
I think that's the perfect way of putting it. But anyway, everyone should go watch that in 25 minutes. Or if you're listening after the fact, go check out that episode because it's up and you can listen to it. Anyway, we love you guys. We will see you on Friday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern to recap night 1 in Grand Rapids. We'll see you out there. Stay safe if you're traveling. If you're not in winter, consider yourself lucky. We love you very much, and we'll see you on Friday. Thanks for tuning in.